Hello, and welcome back to Stream On. I am Hollis. With me, as always, is Eila. How are you, Eila?
I am very excited to talk about Four Seasons.
Yeah, I'm happy that I was able to be like, hey, maybe we should do this, and you hadn't even started yet.
No, but then I watched it in like a minute, it felt like. It just flew by.
Yeah, it really does. It's very bingeable. Basically, if you haven't seen it, we're not going to recap the whole thing, but the Four Seasons follows a group of friends over 4 seasons and the trials and tribulations within the group. Were you at all familiar with the Alan Alda classic from the 70s?
Yes, I saw it as a kid, and I'm sure I didn't get a lot of it. Yeah, exactly. I didn't really understand the themes, but I definitely saw it. And, Carol Burnett was in it. So, of course, I wanted to see it. And I liked it. I just didn't really get it.
That was pretty much what I'm coming to, except I don't think I saw it all the way through. It was something I saw in snatches on the TV while
Yeah.
my parents were watching it or something. I was very good. I'm very good now, but I was very good even as a kid at knowing, oh, that's for me or that isn't for me. And I kind of had a feeling that isn't for me yet.
Right.
So I didn't sweat it. But I have to say, after I watched the limited series created by Tina Fey, based loosely on the Alan Alda written and directed classic from the 70s that we're talking about, after I watched the series, I went back and we watched the original movie so that I could see it all the way through.
How does it hold up thematically?
The Tina Fey series that she created with her friends, Lang Fisher and Tracy Wigfield, is far superior in my estimation. I think part of it was that it's locked in its time, and it's a very slight film. It's like half of it is laughing. If you cut out the laughing that these characters are doing, you got a 40-minute film.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember at the time, my grandparents would talk about it. And I wanted very much to be, like appear to my grandparents. I was a weird kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think because of that, I made such an effort to like this movie back then because I knew it was something that they thought was quality.
Man, you come from hip people. If my grandparents had that discussion about the Four Seasons, it would be in Italian.
Oh.
And they'd be like, what is this? I don't understand. They just do not.
Oh.
So I really can't fathom grandparents. That's so cool that you had that kind of exposure to critics
Right.
in your own family like that.
Yeah. Well, everyone knows my grandmother was Pauline Kael.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's my girl. I have her book.
You do?
Yeah, or I have a book on her, this biography, really great. If you haven't read it, it's really great.
I miss that kind of film criticism where it's that in depth. I don't think anyone's replaced that.
It's died. I love them. I have her biography. I have Roger Ebert's, and like so many of them. They were an endangered species for a while, and now they're extinct.
That's too bad because there's too many, Twitter critics, right? Because they can write
Yeah,
a review in just however many characters that is. So that's it.
yeah,
People
and
don't read long form, unfortunately.
and they can hurl their slings and arrows because they don't live it like those people. Like if you gave someone like Pauline Kael like a great film, she was yours for life. You
Yeah.
know, whether it's Warren Beatty or somebody who like, she was just like, they like people and they're in league with people who create great things for us because they give a shit. And that's why I think she would love this series.
Yeah, I'm sure because it's such a good quality series,
It
right?
really is.
Um, yeah, everyone certainly is entitled to their own opinions, but some people's opinions are just worth more because they're more educated in an area. I know
Yeah,
that's such a popular belief, but I think it's true.
I think it's true too.
Imagine like getting medical advice from someone who just felt like they had the right to their opinion on medicine. You wouldn't do it. So,
They have that. It's called urgent care.
uh,
Yeah, you should see a doctor. Um, yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's something that nobody wants to say, but there's a reason that the New York Times is the paper of record,
Yeah.
or the internet's a cesspool, but it gives us streaming services.
That's nice.
And that's nice. One of the great things about this is its cast.
Oh, yes.
It really, there's very little fat on the bone because it's such a small cast. It's got people who are great, who I knew very well, like Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Coleman Domingo. And it's got great performances by people I did not know very well, like Marco Calvani as Claude.
I never saw him in anything before, and he's fantastic.
He's fantastic. And I think he's built on the Rita Moreno character, where she was playing an Italian who was the wife of this very big, heavyset guy. They didn't, who
Was
was
it Jack Weston? Is that
Jack Weston.
Yeah,
They
okay.
didn't think much of her back then. They that he could pull her.
Right.
Um, but it made sense somehow in the 70s. Uh, but yeah, that guy is great, and he plays off of Coleman so well.
Ah, hilarious.
And
Coleman Domingo is my favorite in the cast. I just think what he's doing is so layered. He's so funny. He's so just poignant at times. He's just and so based in reality. I just adore what he's doing in this.
yeah, he's somebody who I feel like he pulled an awful lot of his own personality into it. So much so that even when he doesn't open his mouth, he's making bold choices with his wardrobe.
Yeah. Yes.
And you're just like, okay, I know who this guy is. I want to be friends with that guy, just based on that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And Tina Fey's character, she likes him more than she likes her husband.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where, like, and we went to college with some people like this,
Yes.
where you have a best friend who's gay, and yet you're kind of still in love with this person.
Right.
And you can't let go of the thought that, like, this should be my husband. We're
Right.
right up until the sexual orientation thing, we're perfect for each other. And she kind of acts on that in the series in a way that she oversteps boundaries.
Yeah. And so much so that she alienates him for a period of time because she insults his husband.
Yeah, and her character is so, I don't know if egocentric is this the right word, but just takes their bond for granted to the point that she alienates him, as you said, but also kind of does his partner dirty by kind of overstepping those bounds and just assuming,
Yeah.
like, she takes for granted that Coleman's character feels the same way.
And he doesn't.
Doesn't.
He loves her, but he doesn't want to partner with her in the way that she
Hmm.
would rather partner with him. I have to say that her husband is written in such a horrible way. I mean, I think that this is the one weakness of the show. They make him too much of an idiot.
Thank you. I didn't buy it. I
Yeah.
didn't buy it at all. The way that Tina's character is drawn, she would have ditched this guy years ago.
Yeah, I don't see why she would even want to be with him in the way that he's presented.
Yeah. So I didn't buy him as a person, but also at times, this is Will Forte we're talking about.
And it's
At
not
ti-
his fault. It's just the way it's written.
It's the way it's written, but also, like, they're close enough that he could be like, hey, what's on the page here? To the point where I felt like he was doing shtick. He was
Mhm,
doing kind of SNL Will Forte. And I
mhm.
was like, dude, if you're going to do anything, do fucking MacGyver, because I'm sick of this. Like, MacGruber. It was just not, it did kind of drag down what they had built, because he wasn't playing the game the rest of them were playing. They were playing chess. He was playing checkers.
Yeah, for sure. But Steve Carell is great in this. I love him. I don't know why going in I just assumed he and Tina Fey would be the couple, the main
Yeah,
couple.
I would have liked that. Let's
Yeah,
sign on for that. Let Will Forte play the kind of, let him, that's a stronger choice. And he could have only done that.
but I understand why Steve Carell played the part he did because it was the male lead, really.
It was. And also, and I don't know if this was universal or just me, I usually dislike Steve Carell.
Oh, you do? No, I don't at all.
Okay. I'm not a big fan. And so I think he was perfect for the guy who kind of drove a wedge between the group because he wanted to get out of his boring on his part marriage and blow it up with this younger 32-year-old dental hygienist named
Right.
Ginny.
Yeah.
And he divorces Anne, who's a friend that they all love.
Right.
Carrie Kenny Silver.
Right. She's from Reno 911. She was hilarious on that.
Yeah, she was.
And
I
she's
was a little surprised with the casting. And
me
then as we go in, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
I think it's great casting. It's
Yeah.
so refreshing to see someone you don't typically see. You know, of course we know her from Reno 911, but I don't really remember that she was in much more than that. I'm sure she works all the time, but nothing that stood out to me.
No, me too. I didn't see her in a long time. And so much so that I was like, oh yeah, she's a thing.
Yeah, and I love her in this.
Yeah. Also, she aesthetically, she was a good choice.
Yes.
He honestly traded her in for a younger model. Like it's the cliche.
Yeah, and they say it. She's just a younger model of Anne.
Yup.
Well, here's what I appreciate very much about this show, because it's rare now. All of them look like real people. They didn't, especially Ginny, played by Erica Henningsen, the young girlfriend. They could have had her look like a model.
It could have been MRAT.
Right, exactly. In like the tiniest little bikini, but they made her look like a real person, and she looks great. And that had they gone the other route, the more Hollywood route, I guess, it wouldn't have worked. This works
Yes.
when you believe that they are who they are, and they don't look like, they were picked because of how they look. And I appreciate that so much. That's what I love so much about the movies of the 70s. People looked real.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that was one of the things tonally that they took from the original and that they like about the original, you know. I was surprised when they did that. And then I was like, oh, right, Tina Fey.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
she gets it.
Yes. Erica Henningsen is beautiful and she looks great. I'm just saying they could have made her, this particular actress even, look much more perfect than they chose to. And I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, it's the cliche. And usually we're so predisposed by now after
Yeah.
being pummeled with cliche after cliche that we think we know where things are going.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Carell's character pretty much blows up the group.
College friends, 3 couples, and Steve Carell is unhappy with his life, so he divorces his wife, and that just changes the whole dynamic of their group. But they always travel together, and these people travel way more than anyone should actually travel.
Yeah, they do. First of all, the group itself, these traveling couples, really, really good friends or embarrassingly codependent?
I'm going to go with good friends. I'm going to be optimistic here.
Okay, shocker. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to be the negative. If I traveled that much with a group of friends, it wouldn't be, even if my wife liked the friends,
Right.
she'd be like, who are we that we need them every time we go out? Like,
Okay. It seems to me like they only got together when they traveled, though. So that was their opportunity to get together. I didn't feel like they were in each other's daily lives.
okay. Yeah, all right, that's better. But each season? Come on.
I know, it's a lot.
But you know what? Post-pandemic, something like that actually seems nice, you know, scheduled like our podcast, scheduled friendship.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, so that's cool. Have you ever had personal experience with a couple friend blowing up the couple and it impacting your personal life?
No, have you?
I feel like I'm about to. No, it's weird, but it's one of those things where, and that's why this is such a throwback of a project. We don't have a lot of couple friends.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't matter anymore. I think people, like married people, used to feel like they had to sort of hang together because the lifestyle was so different, maybe, than single people. But
Right.
I don't think that's a thing anymore. I think that's just a product of our time.
Yeah. Like you and I have gone to lunch plenty of times, and it's
Right.
like, I'm always happy when you bring Mike, but I'm like, it's not I don't think of it. I'm not like, oh, we got to get the couples together, because then it's like herding cats. Like you just want to hang out sometimes.
Right. And it's sort of manufactured. If it happens, great. But
Right. Can you imagine trying to sync up your schedule with another couple to go away, let alone
No,
two sets of couples.
I can't. No, I can't imagine. Right. At one
So
point, their getaway is not much of a trip, but it's parents' weekend at college, and so the gay couple they go, and the partner, the one who wasn't the college friend, he says, "Why are we even here? Like, I don't understand why we're in this trip. We don't have a child at the college. The other couples did."
yeah, yeah. I think isn't Coleman like the Godfather or something? Don't
He
they
is, but yeah,
shoehorn it in?
right. But his husband was making the point, we don't always have to be with these people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Marco Calveni is Claude. Had you seen him in anything
Never.
else? Me either. He was really good. At one point I was like, oh, this poor guy. He's got one note to play. But then later they gave him some depth,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, Coleman better fucking hang on to this guy because there's and this is something I liked about the whole series. There's an arc to each of the couples,
Yeah.
even though I didn't buy Tina Fey's couple.
Yeah. I know. Should have
And
left him. I
they should
thought,
have left. I thought that's where they might go. Is like, realizing that they're not happy and letting her be strong enough to be on her own. Eh, I don't know. Do you come up against this where you're just like, you want to rewrite everything?
I sometimes do. Yeah.
Because I felt that.
I
I want,
thought that each of the couples was going to actually split up in this. I thought that was going to be how they changed it.
yeah. As far as I'm concerned, there would be nothing wrong with that.
It would have been really interesting too, and how they navigated that. But that wouldn't lend itself to a season two, which I didn't expect.
I felt a little blindsided by the final episode
Yeah.
or episodes. And I was kind of like, oh, they're going to make this a series. And I felt a little cheated. There are so few things that let you walk away happy.
Right. And it didn't serve the story as well. I didn't think. I think they just have to leave the door open for more episodes, but more episodes doesn't make the series better.
No, it just makes it more.
Right, longer. And maybe it'll go places that we don't expect it to go and we'll like it better, but maybe not.
Maybe not. And probably not, given every other series out there.
Exactly. The setup is always better than the resolution, I
Yeah.
find. And so I find a lot of things disappointing in that way.
Speaking of which, I'm going to mention a spoiler. So if you people haven't seen it and what we're saying sounds good, yeah, get out. I was shocked, blindsided by them killing off Steve Carell's character.
A senseless death of Steve Carell's character.
Senseless. And so much so blindsided, and it felt so senseless that is the prime mover for why I went and watched the original movie afterwards. Because I said to Emily, I was like, oh my God, you know what? It's so bizarre a move, and the tone is affected so much by it. They must have been locked in because it must have happened in the original. And it did not.
Right? I didn't think so. Well, maybe Steve Carell said, I will do it, but I'm only doing one season.
Then you make it one season.
I know,
You
because
worry about that later. Kill him off screen.
he's such a big part of it. It's not going to, well, we don't know what they're going to do. Maybe it's going to be like season two is a prequel, but it can't be because they ended with a cliffhanger of her being pregnant. So they can't do that.
Which only implies future.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it'll be like Pebbles and Bam Bam, and we'll have the versions of their characters and all child before season.
Yeah. We got a little taste of what that might look like with Ginny's Gen Z friends.
Oh my God. So now I think that relationship was going to end after that weekend. I don't see how he could go on. I agree with Coleman Domingo's character where you have to move up if you're in a couple like that. He can't really hang with her friend. She could easily hang with his. What do you think about that?
I was kind of like mad at his character. I was like, you motherfucker, you make her hang out with people who understand how escrow works, and you can't even make an effort. Like, that thing where he was sitting on the couch with them and
Yeah.
he tries to tell this long ass story which they juxtapose very well in the story, but chill in the cut, read the room, just be there for her in the way that she was there for you.
He
Like
can't. And he can
he,
only have fun if he's taking over.
yeah, I disliked his character, so
I don't think they survived that weekend though,
they don't survive it, and they don't survive it too, I think, because she should fucking leave him.
because he's not she makes such an effort. I mean, his friends give her shit. Not so much. They could have been way worse. They were pretty nice, but still. The daughter, we can't
Oh,
talk about the play.
that's
Uh,
great.
but I mean, Ginny is a really good sport.
Very good sport. I liked her. And also her friends, I thought they were going to go with another cliche. And I thought her friends would all be rolling their eyes at each other or like cutting him when he's not around or talking to her or something. And maybe there should have been one or two scenes more of her and her friends alone.
Mhm.
But they didn't do that. They just used them to juxtapose how out of sorts he was in her world.
Yeah, but I don't see a world where he fits with that group of people. I don't see how he could do it.
No,
Very different people.
they are. But it raises an interesting question. Like, is it enough for you and your partner to just be perfectly happy together? Or do you have to exist in each other's world to that degree? Because post pandemic, I don't think you have to. You mix with friends so intermittently that I don't think he needs to worry about the future with her friends or her. Well, she has to go on every fucking trip with
Well,
them.
that's what I'm about to say. I think in this dynamic where his friends are just part of her life, that's just a given with this guy that you have to be in this friend group. I could see it causing a lot of resentment that he's not even making an effort. I mean, he's just doing what he criticized his wife for doing, but just playing, on an iPad instead of making an effort to sit with the people
He's become his ex-wife. He's
in
become
that,
Anne
in
to
that weekend,
Ginny's him.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, just I'm sorry, but like you are the grown up in that situation, even though Ginny is in her 30s. Like, be the bigger man. Either admit you made a mistake and let Ginny off the hook and be like, I can't sign up for this. Or or you like make an effort. Like, I don't understand this netherworld. And they leave us with a kind of bittersweet scene of him in this convenience store laying the groundwork towards making an effort. He's buying things he knows her friends will like. He's going to go back and we assume try to make good on it. Maybe he'll fail. But then they take him from us. They
Right.
take him from her. And then there's the memorial, which I thought they were going to go another way with the memorial. And she's like, oh, you know what? Let Ginny speak. And then she wins over the wife with a great. They didn't do that either. It was like
They didn't do that.
the ending seemed abrupt in lots of ways. It didn't seem like they had really given the same care to the writing that they did prior to it.
Well, maybe, yeah. Perhaps, it's always like you have so much time to do the first episode and then much less to do the subsequent episodes. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe there is an element of that. What did you think about the bare bones funeral memorial service?
There were elements I liked a lot. The fact that the only urn they had was this like stripper pump was just great. I think it rang true on lots of levels.
Yeah.
What did you think about it?
I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, that there's like children running it.
Yeah, because she went for the like they cut out a lot of the amenities and a lot of the higher end stuff, and so you don't even get the guy who runs it. You get his two tween like sons.
I
They're
know.
they're like
It looked like
17.
right, like they were still in high school, it looked like. They didn't even know to let people in.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
It was fun, but I agree that but I kind of like that they didn't let Ginny speak just because it seemed like something that would actually happen in real life that is a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And also there's the whole they get to play the whole like wronged woman
Right.
in the throes of a divorce. I don't even think the divorce was finalized, right?
I don't think so.
So this happens far too often. The divorce is not finalized, but it's clear that he loves someone else. And then the widow is the wronged woman who gets everything and sometimes, is not magnanimous about it and is very petty about it.
Anne was actually pretty good about it in the end and pretty decent. But there is a thing that Tina Fey says, you were with him for 8 months, but she was married to him for 20 years. So that is an element too. Like they did have a life together and a child together. So I don't know what the answer is in a situation like that.
That is an element to it, but our cells change over every 7 years,
Yeah.
which is just representative of how much we change. We're completely different people, you know, in our 20s or 30s or 40s. There are core elements that will always be us.
I'm not making a case for Anne, but I am pointing out that it is different when you build a life together over 20 years. But I also agree with Ginny's character who said Anne didn't even really know him anymore. I think that is true. I think she knows certain things about him and they are still family because they built a life together, but he's in a different phase of his life. And I do think that Ginny should have had at least, a voice in all of that planning.
Right. I couldn't imagine if if each of us got divorced. Devastating, probably. But like, I can't envision a future where I don't know my wife.
Right.
Like, there would be now. I probably wouldn't know her because one of us would have to do something so heinous
Right.
at this point for us to get. But like, I'm like you said, family, that kind of feeling, and like someone who knows you that well and who you can talk to about everything, like blowing that up. But what happened with Anne's character is what happens in so many of these things. When he finally does blow it up, all of a sudden, the friends find out there were women before Ginny.
Right.
And she probably saw Ginny as no more or less important than any of them.
Right. She didn't get it.
She didn't get it.
And probably part of her didn't want to get it also.
Hmm. But that thing, that middle-aged crazy thing, that kind of guy sowing his oats, kind of like it's a cliche in theory, but it also, I mean, it happens in Moonstruck, with Vincent Gardenia's character.
Right. Who seemed like he was 80 when I saw the movie originally.
He
It's
really was.
I can't believe you're saying he was middle aged, but
I
maybe he
know. Well, yeah, that's true. For the time, he probably was a little advanced. But I mean, that thing of like, you fear death. And so almost like a vampire, you want to feed on this young love of, someone much younger than yourself or this guy who's long in the tooth, who's just like, I'm going to buy a Mustang and be in a hot tub with younger girls. And like, to not know as a grown up that doesn't go anywhere, that's all window dressing. In lots of ways, the characters in this series seemed like children compared to the Alan Alda movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, they look like they could be the kids of those characters, even though
Yeah.
they're probably around the same. People just
Yeah.
look younger.
It's so true.
I
Yeah.
know. And when we saw the movie originally, right, they were like our grandparents' ages, and now
Yeah.
we're not far in age from the people in this series. So also maybe that gives us a different perspective.
Right. But also people in our time are younger and younger seeming, and
Yes,
we're going to live longer. Yeah.
but really with less responsibilities in a lot of cases. Not everybody, but certainly it,
Well,
we didn't have to go to war like a lot of other generations. It's just different.
that's true. Yeah, I think these characters in lots of ways would have been aided by serving in the military in one way, because they're so infantilized in a lot of ways, you
Especially
know?
Bill Forte's character.
especially Will Forte. And the fact that they made him a teacher,
Yeah.
in one way, I was like, oh, that's no authority figure. And in another way, I'm like, oh, those are the only people he could boss around are kids.
And also, he's probably one of those teachers that want to be one of the kids.
Wants to be the cool teacher. And yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, yeah, when you're around people like that, there's a bit of personality mirroring that goes on when you're constantly with them. So he's constantly acting like a teenager.
He is, so much so that Tina Fey really has to be his parent, and it's awful. It's hard to watch her, even though she is sometimes abrasive.
Guys, if you want to make a woman fall out of love with you, make her feel like your mommy.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that shit.
About that.
Um, did we give enough love to Coleman Domingo's character?
I don't think we possibly could because he's so fantastic in this.
He really is.
I love him.
Do they need to give his character a health scare?
Don't think so, but I think they just want to give some conflict in that relationship because otherwise, what is there?
Right, right.
What do you think about the openness of their marriage?
I'm puzzled by it,
Huh?
but I'm happy for them if it works. I never understand the concept of, for lack of a better term, an open marriage,
Mhm.
or at least what we're talking about is Coleman Domingo's character and Marco Calvani's character, Danny and Claude, routinely, it seems, go on Tinder and find partners for themselves occasionally, but also partners for them to have threesomes with.
Right. And they feel like it keeps their marriage fresh because they don't need partnership with other people, but sometimes they need sex with other people because it keeps them happy.
Now, all right, let's get personal.
Okay.
How do you feel about that concept? Is that
I I think
crazy?
no, I don't think so. I think, I would never judge another kind of marriage by what works for me because I think there are all kinds of marriages.
Right.
Marriage is hard. The longer you're in it, the more struggles you face only because, life throws a lot at you. So I think however whatever works for you in a marriage, if you both agree that that's okay, I think it's fine. And I appreciate that the show is showing a relationship like that and not judging it when they show it.
Yeah, so much so that I really thought the scene where they're about to have sex with a guy they picked up,
A lumberjack.
a lumberjack, I really thought it was going to go with a conflict based on the sex itself. And it's not. It's Coleman Domingo's character says something that Claude starts doing the math and finds out, that he's harming his health.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. But like they made a joke of the lumberjack character. They didn't pass judgment. You're right, that I loved about the sex itself.
And the friends too, they're not trying to judge them for that. They just accept who they are.
Well, maybe Tina Fey's character.
She
She's very judgy.
is, that's her thing.
She's bossy pants.
Yes, just a nice one there.
Thank you.
But Coleman Domingo even says, like, that's what she and her husband, they like to do. They like to judge people. That's their sport.
Yeah,
Although I
yeah.
never see that in Will Forte's character, to be fair.
No.
It's her.
Yeah. Was there anything else about it that we're missing?
Well, we didn't talk about the play. I think the play is worth noting.
Yeah. Isla spoke about them going to visit their daughter at college.
So their
And
daughter is played by Julia Lester, who Broadway fans will know her because she was Little Red Riding Hood in Into the Woods at City
ooh,
Center recently.
nice deep cut.
Yes. And so she is doing this play, and it turns out the play is all about her parents' marriage breaking up. And my father broke up my marriage and started dating a whore or something like that.
Yeah.
And of course, Ginny's in the audience. Now, she did try to spare Ginny from it. She said she didn't get her a ticket. But
Right.
and this is another thing that I really, as a kid who grew up with divorced parents, my father was always bringing women around. I did not like it. It wasn't fun for me to have to be with these women even if I
Mm.
like the women, unless they're serious about someone, it's not fun for the kid to have to meet all these different, like this revolving door of women. So Steve Carell's character was very wrong in that he always was more worried about Ginny than his own daughter.
Yeah, that felt wrong.
Yeah,
That must have been hard.
yeah, I never liked it.
Did you act out?
No,
Oh, okay. You were the
no,
good daughter.
I was, yeah. And if I said anything, it was always, oh, don't be selfish. It was that kind of thing.
Mm,
So, I was just taught that there's no point.
wow. Yeah.
I understand as an adult now that my father wanted company maybe for some of our outings, but as a kid, you feel like, why? Why is this stranger coming with us?
Yeah. It must feel like a stranger. And to force that on
Oh,
your kid,
the
like
worst.
like I'm so used to in TV and movies, granted with younger kids, seeing a character who's very protective of their kid. You're not meeting my kid until you're vetted and until we've been together and I know this is going somewhere. I don't want my kid getting attached. I don't want but I my wife comes from divorce too, and her grandfather even was a divorcee, constantly
Right.
bringing love interests, and it's like, or not even love interests, but like interests.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Just for, that week.
yeah, crazy. It's like, dude, just compartmentalize.
Save it for another day.
Yeah, you know what I think too? It's a thing. It's the male ego again. It's like if they don't bring the person around, if they don't say, "Hey, I'm with this person," they can't justify why they blew up the marriage. It's
Oh,
like, it's kind of like, hey, I need no look, see how much I love companionship, see how integral to my life. I didn't blow it up for no reason. I'm with Kathy, and then 7 months later, I didn't blow it up for no reason. I'm with Jane. I
see,
didn't blow it up. Look, I'm with Susie. Like,
my parents got divorced when I was very, very young, like 4. So for me, it was just a lifetime of that. And as the kid, you don't see the other parent that much. So when you do, you want time with them alone. It's not about
yeah,
jealousy. It's not about, you just want to spend time with your parent. And you don't really get to in the same way when there's this unknown person to you there.
yeah, it makes sense. You would be covetous of that time. I have so many questions,
Ah,
but I'll spare you. Yeah. So the great thing is Steve Carell's raked over the coals in this thing,
yeah.
and Ginny is raked over the coals in this play.
He's portrayed as a blow up doll.
She's portrayed as a blow up doll, and just as empty and vacuous as that doll in his daughter's estimation. And Anne is in the audience, kind of secretly loving all this. And then Anne's character walks out, and for some reason, it's this almost like pantomime witch character, like a
Yeah.
green witch.
I was shocked by that. Where did that come from?
I don't know. Anne didn't know.
No.
She's watching, like, that's me. What the hell?
Right.
But it's interesting because it's like, I don't know this, but if we're reading, maybe if you didn't let yourself become old and shriveled like a witch, maybe he wouldn't have. Like, there could be that. And sometimes when like he didn't do this, but if a father like beats the kids, yeah, the kid is mad at the father, but also the kid is mad at the mother for not protecting him or whatever. So it was a complicated dynamic, and I like that they portrayed it that way.
Yeah, I like that too. And the mother was a very good mother because she always did the right thing, even when it didn't serve her. She had to defend Ginny, and she didn't want to,
Yeah.
but she did. She did what was right for her kid. And also, Ginny was a really good sport about it. She didn't take it personally. She was better than
Well,
Pete Carell was.
yeah, much better than him. She kind of took it personally when you see the memorial.
Then that's yeah, but
Yeah.
that was personal.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
They made a
But
choice not to let her speak. But this
right.
play, she said she's a kid and she needs you to listen to her, not for you to talk to her.
But also it's interesting because obviously he wouldn't be alive at his own memorial. But if Steve Carell was alive, she wouldn't have done what she did. Like there's an interesting thing. I think the way that she's been acting while Steve Carell was alive, there was always a hope in the back of her mind that we'll end up back together, it seemed. You know, and even the guy that she winds up with, which is ridiculous, he's very clearly Mr. Right now.
Yeah.
He's not
Oh,
Mr. Right.
he even says it. We might not be together by the end of this weekend.
Yeah. And
And he's an
so, yeah, and I think he was the mattress king from Seinfeld.
oh,
I'm,
really?
or the Wiz or some, I'm the Wiz, nobody beats me. He's
Oh,
like one of those guys.
now I see that.
Yeah. But he is like so not anything important to her. And I think that once Steve Carell's character is passed on, she just becomes mean and mad and lets it have free reign. She says all the polite things, I think, because she's angling and keeping the door at least a little ajar towards him coming back. That's my take.
I feel like maybe, but he was never coming back.
He was
He was,
never coming back.
yeah. So if that's true, that's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because we see at the end that he was planning on trying to make it work. But there's an earlier thing where, again, Tina Fey, who thinks she knows everything, sees Steve Carell's character alone crying by the fire. And she takes that to mean that he's just like, he knows he fucked up. It's obvious this kid doesn't belong on this vacation with us. He's like, I think they're going to get back together. And then
And
she
she's so
hears,
gleeful about it, about his unhappiness.
she's kind of it's a little ugly how gleeful she is about it. And then they start hearing him having sex next door.
Right. And then he explains he was crying because he was so overcome that he was with Ginny, that, you know, that she was such a good girlfriend to him.
She's great. I grew to love her.
Yeah. I mean, they wrote her as perfect as you can write a character while still keeping them real.
Yeah, it's true because she could so easily be underwritten and simply be a foil for the
Enough.
movements of the other characters. Yeah, and she's not.
Yeah. How did she measure up to Bess Armstrong in the original?
I was taken aback with how oddly similar they are. Like, not just aesthetically, but like, she makes an effort to fit in. She's nicer than he deserves. Yeah, I thought it was seamless. I was shocked that they could find someone that worked that well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of similarities.
They should bring
Um,
Bess Armstrong on as her mother if they move forward.
oh my God,
That'd be great.
that is awesome.
And
That's it.
we did not mention the Alan Alda cameo.
Alan Alda, who bless his heart has Parkinson's now, makes a quick appearance as the father of which character?
And
Anne.
at the wedding, at the at the vow
The renewal of the vows.
surprise vow renewal. Oh boy, I wouldn't handle that well. I don't like surprises, so I would not have dealt well if someone surprised me with a vow renewal ceremony.
You know, there are some things you spring on your partner, possibly, if
Right.
you know they love surprises. A
Yeah.
birthday, an anniversary dinner. You don't spring a vow renewal on someone,
That's
especially if you've been having problems.
right. I mean, it was like she was doing it to lock him in.
Yeah, it felt that way.
Manipulation. Yeah, that was bad. So do you think they broke up that day?
I think they broke up that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. After everyone went away. And yeah, and he was given with the pool house blowing up, he was given the perfect out to be like, guys, we got to reschedule. This is,
Right.
yeah. Or maybe he went through with it. I mean, who knows what because if the marriage isn't worth anything, what's the renewal worth?
Right. That's true.
Might as well make peace.
It is kind of meaningless. It's not like, well, now you're extra married.
Yeah, in a court of law, you're doubly married.
You get two divorces to undo
Yeah,
it.
please.
Yeah, it's the same difference.
So, in closing, I think my favorite character was Coleman Domingo. I wanted to like Tina Fey more, and I'm surprised I didn't. I love her in everything.
Mm-hmm. I liked Tina Fey playing this character, but I didn't love the character. But, she was, I don't know. For me, I saw Tina Fey and not the character as much.
Me too.
Yeah. So I think maybe, and I don't know why.
I think she may have been wearing too many hats
Maybe.
in this, and it fit her character, like this kind of manipulative, kind of overbearing character at times. But like I know myself from when you're in something and you're also kind of you wrote something and you're trying to like pull all the strings. I think she took the character that spoke to her the most, that she could kind of not phone in, but kind of she could do in her sleep.
Mhm.
And it can't help but feel that way sometimes.
Mm. Yeah, I think
Um,
that's probably it, maybe. Or maybe it's just very close to who she is on some level.
yeah,
I don't know, but it's not even so much a criticism. It was hard to forget she was Tina Fey.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, she's an alpha.
Yeah.
You have to be to make it the way she did in this business and to be who she is and as powerful as she is and she's one of my favorite creators, you know? So yeah, we're nitpicking, you
That's
know,
right.
it works.
It's good. But I will also share with you that Carol Burnett herself was excited about this series. She thought it was in good hands with Tina Fey.
Oh, good. You know, speaking of the two principals of the Four Seasons, Alan Alda and Carol Burnett, I thought Carol might make an appearance, but I'm glad Alan Alda did. But I saw a tweet like last week or something, and it was Alan Alda recording. He's like, "Congratulations, Tina, on the Four Seasons being the most downloaded series worldwide."
Wow.
He's like, "I'm happy for you, and you have to come back on my podcast, and we'll tell each other how wonderful we are." So he's still Alan Alda. I love him to death.
How can you not, right? He just seems perfect. And they grew up together. Well, not Tina Fey, but Carol Burnett and Alan Alda were neighbors when they were growing up.
Oh, that's great.
Is that cool?
Wow. That is awesome. Yeah, Robert Alda was his dad.
Yes.
And
Guys,
he's got a great biography, Alan Alda. He like grew up traveling with his dad a lot. And he was always backstage at all these burlesque clubs watching women disrobe. But when I was a kid watching the Carol Burnett show, which I loved, of course, I was always taken aback by Alan Alda as a guest star because I knew him from MASH, and he always brought like a poignancy and a kind of like little dramatic twinge even to the all out comedy bits he would do on that when they were doing like Mama's Family or they were
I
doing
loved
whatever.
I loved when he was Eunice's brother.
So fucking good.
And
And
when
like
they brought Ken Berry in, not as good.
no. But it was like you know on SNL when Lily Tomlin would be on and she and Richard Pryor would do those characters like Pudge and whatever. And it was like there was drama to the
Uh-huh.
comedy
Right.
that they walked that tightrope only when Alan Alda was on. Like, you never saw her and Harvey Korman trying to hit some dramatic notes. But all it did was raise the comedy because it brought that realism to it. So yeah, such pros.
I know. But really, nothing was better than the mama and Eunice and Ed, all of them. That was the best.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Who was on with them? So good.
Yeah. So Four Seasons, four thumbs way up.
We got through the whole series easily. I actually watched it twice because I knew we were recording. So I watched it again yesterday and this morning.
Ooh, lovely. That's dedication.
Yes.
In closing, anything else that you've been watching?
What else am I watching? Oh, I watched Sirens. That is good. It's brand new.
I just finished episode 1
Did you
of
like it?
Sirens.
Oh no. Because I loved it.
Okay. All right. Here's the thing. I want to know where something is going. I don't like the plain coy. It gets old to me after 5 minutes, let alone 20. So, but I'm in it. I love I hesitate to call her the lead in anything where Julianne Moore is, but who's the one from White Lotus?
Megan Fey.
Absolutely love her. That's why we jumped in, because we could watch her do anything. She's great. The younger sister.
I've never seen her before.
I've never seen her before, but I was like, do you ever do this? You're watching a character and you're like, you're not feeling a connection. You're not feeling this character is charismatic. And you're like, how did she get cast? That's my feeling towards it. And that's my big problem with the series is just, I'm like, really? I got to follow this character? So, but you like her as an actress?
I didn't. She didn't make me stop and think that there was anything wrong with her. I mean, I was in it for
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with her.
her performance. I didn't question it, so it was fine. Keep going. See if you like where it goes. Let me know.
Okay, that's fair. I'm also watching Your Friends and Neighbors.
I'm in that.
I have two thoughts. One, that series does not know what it wants to be.
Yeah, I can see that.
It is trying to keep a foot in each genre, and it's not headed towards where it told us it was going in the opening teaser trailer of like what I thought it was this rich guy in an exclusive area. He's robbing all his friends to make up for the. I was like, okay, I'm in.
You kind of have to look for that. I mean,
yeah. And now it's that thing we talked about where, oh God, they're trying to make this a series. It's not a finished. We got to come back.
I don't know that I'd be back for that. Maybe. I'm not sure. I have to see where it goes.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be back. And the other thought was John Hamm, the actor, if he was a female actor, the internet would be blowing up with, wow, he gained a lot of weight.
Oh, do you think John Hamm gained weight? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
He's puffy. And
choice for this character?
I don't think so. I think it's a choice to get older. Well, and which, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just think the double standard is very telling.
Yeah.
Because he is not Don Draper, and they're playing him almost like he's this guy, like, oh my God, of course this woman wants him. Of course that woman wants him. And I'm like, this guy's getting older. He's filling out. And it's like, no one's commenting on it. I don't know. Even if they gave him one line of like, oh boy,
right,
long time since Princeton tennis, like give him something. Then I'm like, okay, I move on. They've acknowledged it.
I'm going to counter with two thoughts. One, I didn't even notice it. So for me, he looks perfectly fine. But two, I appreciate it because I am so tired of watching every single show where everybody looks like all they do is spend time in the gym. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like every movie I see Brad Pitt in, not one scene is him working out.
Yet everybody has, visible abs and,
Yeah, no, that's valid. Okay.
And that just takes away from the movies because how many people in real life do you know that look like that?
Yeah, that's true.
A handful. Mm-hmm. And you're in the gym all the time.
Don't make me rip this shirt off, Eila.
All right.
We're ready for the pose down. All right. Well, excellent. Thank you for joining us for the 4 seasons.
This was so much.
It was a lot of fun. And we'll see you back here soon.